In other words, this is common sense. Let's bring it home.
Mr. Poilievre, opiate overdose is also a serious problem in Canada. And you said if you will become a prime minister and if your government comes, then you will sue the big pharma companies. Why you made that statement?
It's just unused federal land. Sell it off, build houses, bring homes workers can afford.
Mr. Poilievre, you made a statement that if you make a government, then you will penalize the big cities if they don't free up the spaces for affordable housing, and you will also reward them. And there were also points that you will empower the residents that they can complain about the NIMBYism, and 15% of federal buildings you will put on sale so that more affordable housing can be available, and you will stop printing the money.
Well, after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, housing costs have doubled. The required down payment for the average house has doubled. The required monthly mortgage payment for the average house has doubled.
And Mr. Poilievre, what kind of these federal buildings are? Like they are vacant right now, or which buildings you are talking about to sell off? Mr. Poilievre, you said you will stop printing the money. Do you think at present, the present government, they are printing a lot of money? And who prints the money? Is it Bank of Canada, which is an independent body, or federal government is involved with the Bank of Canada to print more money?
Well, it is the Bank of Canada, which is, you say, is it independent? It's interdependent right now.
So that those doctors and qualified healthcare workers can be indulged in our healthcare system. So what is the plan of Blue Seal now?
Growing crime and drug crisis is the result of 8 years of Justin Trudeau. He has brought in a catch and release bail system that allows habitual, repeat, violent offenders to be released again and again and again and again, sometimes the same day they're arrested. We're going to treat addiction, make the corrupt big pharma companies pay the price.
Who is responsible? Why our political or lawmakers are not acting on bail reform right now, today itself?
We can bring home our brothers, sisters, friends, and neighbors drug-free. Bring homes people can afford.
ਫੈਡਰਲ ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਲੀਡਰ ਪੀਅਰ ਪੋਲੀਵਰ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਅੱਜ ਮੌਜੂਦ ਹੈ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਕੁਝ ਇੰਪੋਰਟੈਂਟ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਅਨਾਉਂਸਮੈਂਟਸ ਕੀਤੀਆਂ ਗਈਆਂ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਕ੍ਰਾਈਸਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਕੰਟਰੋਲ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਲਈ। ਡਾਕਟਰ ਨਰਸਿਸ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ 'ਚ ਪੂਰੇ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ 'ਚ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਨੈਸ਼ਨਲ ਟੈਸਟਿੰਗ ਉਹਦੇ ਤੇ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਔਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਵੱਡੀ ਫਾਰਮਾਸਿਊਟੀਕਲ ਕੰਪਨੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਸੂ ਕਰੂੰਗਾ ਅਗਰ ਮੈਂ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਬਣਾਉਣਾ ਹੈ ਤਾਂ। ਮਿਸਟਰ ਪੋਲੀਵਰ, ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਏਸ਼ੀਆ ਫਸਟ ਆਫ ਆਲ।
Thank you very much, Mr. Chopra. I appreciate the invite.
Mr. Poilievre, you made a statement that if you make a government, then you will penalize the big cities if they don't free up the spaces for affordable housing, and you will also reward them. And there were also points that you will empower the residents that they can complain about the NIMBYism, and 15% of federal buildings you will put on sale so that more affordable housing can be available, and you will stop printing the money. So can you explain, like, are these the good steps to control the housing crisis?
Yes, well, after 8 years of Justin Trudeau, housing costs have doubled. The required down payment for the average house has doubled. The required monthly mortgage payment for the average house has doubled. And the average rent in Canada's 10 biggest cities has doubled. It's double trouble for Canadians looking for housing. Why is it so expensive in such a big country to house our relatively small population? The answer is we have the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7. Even though we have the most land to build on, we have more land than anyone else, and yet we don't have enough houses for our people to live in. The reason for that is government gatekeepers. It takes 7 to 10 years to get building permits and zoning. In Vancouver, the cost of government, red tape, taxes, charges, delays, in every unit of housing is $650,000. $650,000 of government costs baked into every single unit of housing. That's not labor, land, or materials. It's just government costs. So my federal government is going to penalize big city gatekeepers that block construction and give bonuses to big cities that speed up construction. So in other words, if your city, we're going to link the number of federal infrastructure dollars a big city gets to the number of houses it allows to be completed. If they allow more housing construction, they'll get more infrastructure money. They block construction, then I will cut back their infrastructure budget. I'm also going to require every federally funded transit station be approved for high density housing over and around it, apartment buildings, so our young people can live and our seniors can live there without even owning a car. Finally, I'm going to sell off 15% of Canada's 37,000 federal buildings to turn those into affordable housing for our people.
And
bring homes people can afford.
And Mr. Poilievre, what kind of these federal buildings are? Like they are vacant right now, or which buildings you are talking about to sell off?
Some of them are office buildings that have largely been empty because public servants are working from home. We have buildings across the country that are underutilized. I want to consolidate our public servants into fewer buildings and sell off the newly emptied ones. So we have 37,000 of them right now. I want to sell off somewhere in the neighborhood of about 6,000 buildings. I'm also going to take a look at all the land the government of Canada owns. Federal government is one of the biggest land owners in the country. I'm going to also sell off a bunch of brownfield land. That's land that's not ecologically sensitive. It's not national parks. It's just unused federal land. Sell it off, build houses, bring homes workers can afford.
Mr. Poilievre, you said you will stop printing the money. Do you think at present, the present government, they are printing a lot of money? And who prints the money? Is it Bank of Canada, which is an independent body, or federal government is involved with the Bank of Canada to print more money?
Well, it is the Bank of Canada, which is, you say, is it independent? It's interdependent right now. The federal government has been dependent on the Bank of Canada to print money for government spending. And the Bank of Canada is now dependent on the government to bail it out, because now, for the first time in our history, our central bank is losing billions of dollars because when they bought government bonds, they bought them from financial institutions, and then those financial institutions were given cash, which was deposited into the central bank's system. And now, because interest rates are going up, the bank is paying more interest on those deposits. So they're both, basically Canadians are losing on both ends. Money printing is serving big government and big business, but it's hurting working class people by causing high levels of inflation. The price of everything is going up. Inflation has been at a 40-year high. So we have to cap government spending, stop the money printing to bring down both interest rates and inflation.
Mr. Poilievre, our healthcare system that is in crisis, we know that if we have to get our own family doctor appointment, it takes not less than 2 weeks to visit a family doctor. In emergency, Canada hospital emergencies, more than 6 hours of wait. And we have many doctors, nurses, those who qualified overseas, their degrees are not equivalent here. And you announced that you will bring a blue seal on this so that those doctors and qualified healthcare workers can be indulged in our healthcare system. So what is the plan of Blue Seal now?
Well, we need to bring home our doctors and nurses. Right now, Canada has a doctor shortage of about 40,000 doctors. We could eliminate half of that shortage if we just allow Canadian doctors trained abroad to work. There are over 19,000 Canadian doctors who are trained abroad and are banned from working here at home. There are 34,000 nurses trained abroad here in Canada, but are banned from working. This is crazy, and many of them are immigrants. Some of them, though, are Canadian-born who went off to study in Ireland, Australia, the United States, and because they had a foreign study, they can't get a Canadian license. So here's the plan to bring them home, bring home these doctors. I will bring in a national standard licensing test, a Blue Seal exam that doctors, nurses, and other professionals can take to prove that they're qualified. And if they do, then they should be licensed to practice in every single province. We already have it in the trades. It's called the Red Seal for electricians and carpenters. You take this national exam, and you could be in Alberta, but you then can move to Manitoba or Nova Scotia and Quebec and take your ticket, your license, and work anywhere. That does not exist in the professions. So when I bring in the Blue Seal exam. It will allow doctors who are trained abroad to work here at home and to move between provinces while taking their qualifications with them. It's common sense. Let's bring it home.
Yes. Mr. Poilievre, recently in today's announcement, Peel Regional Police announced that they recover more than 10 million of vehicles, stolen vehicles. And they caught 4 criminals, those who were behind these 10 million of worth of stolen vehicles. Now, question is, we asked the chief, we asked everybody that these criminals, how confident is the system that these thieves will be behind the bars, they won't get a bail so easily. So nobody was so confident. They said police did their work, but the bail reform or a criminal code, there is no changes as of yet. So we think his political will is missing, because these criminals, they will be out on bail, they will again do the carjacking, armed robberies, and their charges are not that tough that they will remain behind the bars. If you become the Prime Minister, if you will make a government, or in the opposition also, how to bring changes in the criminal code, why political will is missing across the table, why criminals can't be behind the bar, because you also said that in British Columbia, 40 criminals were charged 6,000 times, is a shame to the system. So what you will say on this?
Yes, this growing crime and drug crisis is the result of 8 years of Justin Trudeau. He has brought in a catch and release bail system that allows habitual, repeat, violent offenders to be released again and again and again and again, sometimes the same day they're arrested. You're right, the same 40 criminals were arrested 6,000 times in Vancouver alone, but they're released. That, by the way, that's 150 arrests per person per year. But the problem is they're being released the same day they're arrested on automatic bail. So a Poilievre government will bring in jail, not bail, for repeat violent offenders. So if you have a long rap sheet, you're arrested on a serious violent offense, you stay in jail until your trial and sentence are complete. I'm also going to ban hard drugs like heroin, crack, and cocaine. And we're going to treat addiction, make the corrupt big pharma companies pay the price.
Is it so tough to bring the changes in the bail reforms at present? Why it is not coming up? Because we have seen repeated offenders again and again. Who is responsible? Why our political or lawmakers are not acting on bail reform right now, today itself?
That's a good question. Justin Trudeau believes in same day catch and release bail. That's what he brought in when he became Prime Minister. So someone is a repeat violent offender, they get arrested for a serious assault, they're automatically released under the Trudeau and NDP system. Conservatives put forward a motion in the House of Commons to bring in jail, not bail, for violent repeat offenders. And the NDP and Liberals voted against us on that. So they want to continue to release violent criminals into our street to carry out more havoc and despair.
Mr. Poilievre, opioid overdose is also a serious problem in Canada. And you said if you will become a Prime Minister and if your government comes, then you will sue the big pharma companies. Why you made that statement?
Big pharma companies flooded North America with opioids. They claimed that it was a harmless pain management tool that was non-addictive and non-lethal. These were all lies. McKinsey, a consulting firm linked to the Liberals, actually wrote a business plan to supercharge sales of these drugs, and even they paid bonuses out for each overdose that was caused. These companies knew exactly what they were doing. The American governments have sued Big Pharma and collected tens of billions of dollars in damages that they can now use to pay for recovery and treatment. I want us to do the same in Canada. So a Poilievre government will sue Big Pharma and use the proceeds of that lawsuit to pay for treatment and recovery so that we can bring home our brothers, sisters, friends, and neighbors drug-free.
Mr. Poilievre, your final message to the Canadians.
My message is it's time to bring it home. You know, Canada, we had a deal. We had a deal in Canada. You work hard, you get a house, safe streets, a good living, and a great life. That deal is broken. Young people can't afford homes. Mothers can't afford food. Our streets are overwhelmed with crime and drug addiction. Everything feels broken, including the deal. Justin Trudeau broke the deal with Canadians. So here's my deal. We're going to bring home lower prices by getting rid of the inflationary deficits and carbon taxes. Bring home powerful paychecks with lower taxes that reward hard work. Bring homes people can afford by removing the gatekeepers to free up land and speed up building permits. Bring home safe streets with jail, not bail, for violent offenders. Ban on heroin, fentanyl, and cocaine. Treatment for addicts, and make the big pharma pay for it. And bring home our freedom by ending the censorship that Trudeau plans online. In other words, this is common sense. Let's bring it home.
Thank you, Mr. Poilievre, for giving us the time to discuss these important concerns and issues which Canadians are facing today and talking about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chopra. Let's bring it home.
Thank you.